Kwai Nidombak, Inde Louisi Jesse, Ta Agama Elie, Pam Gisagak Nia Ndachui Nadodomoa, Agama Nadodomo Kawonganal, Udzi Aln8ba8dwa Wongan. Elie, Tani Clusian Aln8ba8dwa, Kadichli Liuladamana.
English money?
Sorry, yeah, sorry, English money, Saga.
At what point do you want me to start?
Kiauskinos,
little boy,
Spiwikigawas.
Okay, well, as a little boy, I can remember my mother would have me and my sister trailing her. She would stop at every house on the reserve, and she would it was, that's all she would do for the whole length of the village, talk Indian.
Awani hi Clusi hidit.
Just to name a few, Ido Alhanes, La Grave, what's her name? Jessie Benedict, Irene Hoff, quite a lot of people. Juliette Nolette, very educated.
You mentioned her, yeah, to me before. She was
She taught me a lot. She really did.
Juliet.
Yeah.
And Kia, your uncle.
Oh, Uncle Duffalo, yeah. And he was a great man. He did so many things for the Indian. He pounded the ash for the baskets. He made canoes. He went guiding for rich people. It was like he had nothing could stop him. He was a great man.
And one of course, Gordon Day's quote unquote informants in his work was
One of his best informants, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you mentioned as a kid you'd go around with your mom? What were some of the things that you saw cause people to onda Clusi Aln8ba8dwa Wongan?
I would say the one thing that caused a big thing on our reserve was the priest announcing that he did not want the children speaking Indian in the classroom. And he didn't want them speaking in the yard, and then where the kids waited to go into the school. And that's where they had the swings and everything. And they had a big to-do about it, and the council and the church got together, and the council said, no, the children can speak Indian in the yard, and the minute they go into the school, they will speak French. And the parents will try to help speak French to the children more than Indian. So everything worked out well, but it took a couple of years to get used to.
I bet. And you mentioned that you travel up with your mom and speak the language at Odanak. Where were you living, and why wasn't, how was that affecting the language? We talked about that before, about people moving away.
Oh, yeah. Migration, yeah, that's what I call it.
Yeah, migration. Yeah.
This was prior to the war. A lot of people went to the Albany Troy Watervliet area because that was the Watervliet Arsenal was there. And people that worked at the arsenal from Odanak were not subject to the draft because we weren't citizens to be drafted. We could volunteer, but we weren't subject to the draft. And depending on what job you had, if you had a sufficient job, they would even pay for your moving from Odanak to Watervliet and find a place for you. So that was good. And that's how my mother got involved. It ended up in Troy, New York.
She came down with
Her father.
your grandfather.
Yes.
Awani.
Elie Wawanolet.
Elie, yeah. Yeah. And there were other communities too. You said it wasn't just that area, Albany, Waterville, Troy, but other places that people from Odanak were going to at that period.
Oh, yeah, that's why I say there's the Great Migration. There were people that went to Woonsocket, Rhode Island, Waterbury, Connecticut, just all over New England and New York. There were pretty big numbers.
Agamowo Clusi hidit Aln8ba8dwa nidali?
Anna?
Agamowo Clusi nidali?
Uh-huh,
So-
yeah. And, well, like in Albany, the friends we had, our family friends, they all spoke Indian. They were all from Odanak.
So the language was not totally lost
No.
because of the migration, but it didn't help it at Odanak.
No.
It was moving to these different communities, and then
Yeah.
I think that Gordon Day writes about that in his notes, his field notes, that he would visit Connecticut and Albany and different places to find speakers
And he
in the
found
1960s, and he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then your mother, at a certain point in her life, moved back to Odanak and became the primary teacher there. I think it was in the 90s. I, in 1992, started taking lessons with your mom. And that's how I started to learn the language around that time. But you were already teaching.
Yes.
How did you begin to teach Abenaki? And what time did that happen? And
Oh,
how?
I got out of the Navy 20 years, and it's 1963, so I'd say around 64. A couple of the Indians in Albany said, "Hey, let's hold a language night. All the Indians will get together. We'll have a crash language course." And Elie, would you come down and show us the rights and wrongs? And I said, yeah, I'd be happy to. So that's how it started, and it ended up with a teaching gig at Albany State, Albany University.
University of Albany, yeah, yeah. And you've been teaching since then in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And most recently, since
that's where
2006 or so, you and I.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Yeah.
That's when you and I got together.
And we're still students and still learning. I know that I'm always learning and making mistakes, but learning along the way. And we're lucky because it's not just, we're not alone. We were talking about how it's not
I don't
just
make
us.
mistakes, though.
I mean, of course
I make
not.
whoppers. I make whoppers.
But we have other communities, other native communities that we get so lucky we get to travel around New England and work with other people and pick up techniques from them. Remember we learned the dance, the outhouse dance.
Yeah.
And yeah, we visit Penobscot, real similar cousins.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Carol Dana and her group there, because that was the first knowledge of the Penobscots, is when they came to my door and knocked. "Hi, I'm Carol, this is my uncle."
That's who you
Arnie.
first met.
Yes, the
Yeah, and
first
Arnie,
time.
yeah.
It
Oh.
was the Wabanaki Confederation meeting that we sponsored for the weekend. And they told us that we'd have to go to them for the next meeting, because they were going to sponsor it. So I had a good tight bond with the Penobscot.
And that's grown, and we now work with our friends like Roger Paul
Oh, yeah.
of the Maliseet and Passamaquoddy and Mi'kmaq friends, and Gabe Paul's doing such great work with
And
Penobscot.
I even
so
taught,
shout out
I
to
even
Gabe.
told the Maliseet how to say rat. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess one more question I was thinking about today, just of the things that we've been doing lately. We talked a little bit about the decline, how we began our own journeys in the language. What are some of the things that you feel really positive about that are happening today with Aln8ba8dwa Wongan?
Well, I got to get this out of my system here. There's nothing that gives me greater joy than to have taught an Indian woman or an Indian lady language, just a little bit, and her passing it down to her children.
Mm-hmm. To see it continue, yeah. Yeah. And that's the goal, and that's what's inspired me, and I know it inspired your mother, and brought us together here today, and keep trying, and hopefully everybody's going to continue to study Abenaki and learn it with us. Liuladamana Kluzi Aln8ba8dwa Wongan Kongiskaki. Right, as your mother always said, yeah. Speaking it every day. So Kitsiulioni Elie. I hope this little format is fun for everybody and gives you a little background of who we are and what we're doing. And Liuladamana Kluzi Aln8ba8dwa.